You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump's big boasts backfire in his court battle with ABC, based on an article by Sarah K. Burris. Trump's own post built the case against him. Power has a name. This is not a story about hurt feelings between a president and a network. It is a story about institutional power being used as a threat. Trump is the one with the leverage. Brendan Carr, the FCC chair described here as Trump's slavishly devoted accomplice, is the mechanism. ABC is the target trying to defend itself after the administration turned regulatory power into a political cudgel. That is the core fact the whole saga tries to blur. When a president talks like a mob boss and his regulator acts like a loyalist, that is not tension. It is coercion with a bureaucratic face. Trump said the quiet part. ABC's strongest evidence is not rumor, conjecture, or media innuendo. It is Trump's own social media posts. He publicly complained that fake news networks should lose their licenses and should be charged millions for unfair coverage. He has also threatened to use the FCC against networks he dislikes and to remove licenses from affiliates. That matters because Trump keeps doing the same thing every time he is offended. He converts personal vanity into public power. He cannot tolerate criticism, so he reaches for regulatory retaliation. The article makes clear that this is not an isolated outburst. It is a pattern. The real message. ABC's filing gets the logic right. Retaliation against one network is a warning shot to every media company. The message is simple enough that no one needs to dress it up in process language. Accommodate the administration's version of coverage or pay the price. That is how soft authoritarianism works in plain sight. You do not need to shut down every newsroom if you can make a few examples expensive enough to discipline the rest. The point is not just punishment. The point is compliance. The misdirection game. The article also shows how easily power tries to hide behind institutional form. The story is not framed as Trump using the state to punish speech. It is framed as a feud, a dispute, a spectacle, a late-night grudge. That is convenient for the people holding the levers. It turns deliberate pressure into entertainment and a regulatory threat into personality theater. Even the damage is concrete. The source notes that when Trump went after Kimmel, Disney lost billions in market value and millions of subscribers. That is what coercion looks like when it works. Not a dramatic censorship decree, but financial pressure that teaches the rest of the industry what obedience costs and what resistance costs more. Courts are not neutral if they erase reality. Lee Littman's point about the courts is the one that should worry anyone still pretending law automatically restrains power. Lower courts can look at Trump's own posts and say, in effect, the president said what he said. The Supreme Court can choose to pretend otherwise. That is not legal subtlety. It is institutional denial. If the highest court treats obvious retaliation as legally unseeable, then the problem is bigger than Trump. It means the system has learned how to launder authoritarian conduct through procedure, and to call that restraint. The pattern. This is the same political template showing up across the board. Universities, Kamai, Letitia James, Jack Smith, Anthony Fauci, media companies. Identify an enemy, make an example, and force the institution to decide whether it will defend itself or accommodate the extortion. The tactic only works when powerful institutions are afraid of the price of saying no. That is the larger lesson here. Authoritarian politics does not begin with tanks in the street. It begins when a president uses the state to punish criticism, when loyalists manage the machinery, and when institutions start confusing survival with surrender. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to AlterNet for today's article, with the automated voice of Joe. Thanks for listening.